Good evening, Dr. Rajesh Shah. Good evening, our President, Dr. Gopalakrishna, General Secretary, Dr. Durga Prasad, Treasurer, Dr. Venugopal Gauri. Good evening to all our Vice Presidents, Executive Members, and the Office Bearers, and also all the viewers. Good evening to Dr. Arun Basmeji, the former President of the Central Council of Homeopathy. I welcome you. So since last 1 year, we are organizing a series of webinars on COVID-19 itself, right from the last year. So we brought you what is going on world over in the field of the COVID-19. The medicines evolved in its prevention, in its clinical treatment. We also brought you various stages of the pathogenesis of the COVID-19, its relation to its pathogenesis, the investigations required at various stages, and also its relation to our various stages related to our biomimetic theory and the medicines evolved for various stages we brought you. Now, during this year, just last month only, so we organized a webinar about our past experiences and the present strategies required. Now, we are bringing you the COVID-19 nosode and the future research of opportunities by Dr. Rajesh Shah. So we have different, we are sincerely interested in catering the needs of our various viewers. So some of our viewers are interested in updating their knowledge for the prevention and also for the treatment of the COVID-19. Some of our viewers are also interested in their research activities. So to update them in the taste, whatever they are having, we are sincerely bringing what is going on in the field of the COVID-19 in homeopathy. We are bringing you. May I request our President Dr. Gopalakrishna Garu to welcome the speaker and also our viewers. Thank you, Dr. Gopalakrishna. Please continue.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I feel honored to welcome you all to this webinar. Topic being COVID-19 nosode, future research opportunities by a very eminent doctor, Dr. Rajesh Shah. He is a great physician, a great researcher, and also a popular teacher. And we are very glad to invite you, sir. We heard you 2 years ago in our association premises. So we once again heartily welcome you, sir. I welcome all the audience, participants, delegates, and our past president, Dr. Sampath Rao, our treasurer, Dr. Venugopal Gauri, and our general secretary, Dr. Durga Prasad Rao. And I also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Arun Basmeji, former president CCH. Namaskar, sir.
Please unmute yourself.
Dr. Krishna, unmute yourself.
Yeah. So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Great. So, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I must thank Telangana Homeopathic Medical Association for inviting me over, especially Dr. Sampath Rao ji, Dr. Gopal Krishna, Dr. Durga Prasad ji, Dr. Venugopal. Thank you so much for having me again. I was with you in Telangana some couple of years back, and I have great memories of that. And I'm happy to see a lot of senior homeopaths here in the group. Dr. Arun Basmeji, my friend Dr. Jayesh, Sangvi, and many other senior homeopaths. I convey my greetings to everyone. And I would like to share some of my experiences and thoughts on this topic or subject very close.
Rajesh sir, you have to unmute your mic, please.
Rajasa sir, you are not audible.
Oh, okay. Am
Right,
I
sir.
audible now?
Yeah. Yes.
You
Uh,
are now.
So should I start from again? Because I thought I was audible. So
We could hear you, sir.
Oh.
Just a few seconds we lost it.
okay. So I'm just conveying my greetings to all of you. And as I said, I've been working on this COVID-19 nozole for last over 1 year. Incessant
Once again, you are not audible, sir.
muting me because I'm on two. Okay, I don't know why. I think when it is unmuted. Okay.
Now you should be muted, sir, because you've been made the co-host.
Yes, please. Thank you. So, as I said, I decided to come out of the lab now, and I thought that I must share my experiences with the fellow homeopaths, my colleagues, and the entire homeopathic profession. So, I started talking on that since a few days. And let us talk about this COVID nozole. We all know that nozoles are very powerful homeopathic medicines which have been in use since the time homeopathy started. Dr. Samuel Hahnemann was the first to introduce the first nozole, that was Sorainum, way back in 1826-27, after which many other nozoles came. All of you know about that. There are some very interesting things about nozoles that, Robert Koch, for example, identified the Mycobacterium tuberculosis organisms somewhere in 1882. But very interestingly, there was a homeopathic nozole, tuberculinum and bacillinum, which was prepared 7 to 8 years prior to Robert Koch finding the organism. That was in 1875. Similarly, Constantine Herring developed a nozole lysine, that is Hydrophobinum from rabbit virus. And the anti-rabies vaccine came in 1885. That was almost 50 years after the homeopathic nozole lysine was introduced. So, in that sense, homeopathy has remained quite advanced in the very, very early part of the microbiology development. However, having said that, in last 100 years, no much research went into homeopathic nozoles, and as a result, homeopathy remained quite behind. And we could not, explore the benefits of nozoles to an extent that we need to. See, as I look at the nozoles and vaccines, of course, they both are different, but both of them are based on the same principle. But and at the same time, both of them have inherent capacity to trigger the immune response in certain way. You see, so I look at nozoles and vaccines in a way that there are two different ways of stimulating the human immune system, and these ways are different. Homeopathically, as we know, with the potentization, we accentuate the efficacy of the viral material and still making it safe yet powerful enough to stimulate the vitality. And in vaccine, there is a different way of doing it. So we need to do substantial work now in the nozole research, and that can really take homeopathy to the next level. And I'm fully convinced, because I have been working on developing and researching on nozoles for last almost 24-25 years, and have also developed almost 12 different nozoles very scientifically, systematically, with the help of various scientist friends, virologists, immunologists, pharmacologists, and so on in very reputed laboratories. So we understood this subject well. And when this corona came somewhere in February last year, and immediately I started thinking about developing the nosode, because that was the echoing of many homeopaths across the world, because most of us thought of having some nosode as a possibility which could potentially help us in the prevention and as well as possibly for the treatment. So I will take you through the journey very briefly. If you can change the slide, please. Yeah. So we developed three nosodes very systematically. There are three variants. The first variant was prepared from clinical sample at Haskins Institute, Mumbai. Haskins Institute is one which also makes BCG vaccine and measles vaccine for the entire country. It is a 125 years old government virology institution, very famous of one of its type. Then we also had two more variants or two more types of nosodes, one from inactivated strain of the virus, and the third one was prepared from spike glycoprotein. So as we have got different vaccines, as you know, from different viral materials, we also developed these nosodes from different viral materials. I'm happy to share that these three nosodes were prepared a few months prior to the COVID-19 vaccine which came in the market. So that way we were little well in time, I would say, in developing the nosodes in homeopathy. And this was the world's first ever COVID-19 nosode ever made, and that came from India. So we should, I think, always take a little pride in that. Next, please. So these are the two institutions, that is Haskins Institute and Gujarat University. As I said earlier, with the help of many experts, we used the BSL-2 plus facility in making of the nosode. Now, there are certain technical information that I believe that every homeopath must know. We homeopaths are clinicians, and we often think that we don't need to really worry about the research part of it, the laboratory part of it, but that is not true. We need to really understand how the medicines are developed, what are the intricacies involved, what are the formalities, what are the protocols, what are the methods behind developing the nosodes or any medicine for that matter, what is the regulatory framework. We need to know that. In the current time, we homeopaths cannot simply take the medicines for granted just from the label that we read on the bottle. We need to go into the detail of the source materials. So this nosode was developed using BSL-2 plus facility, that is called biosafety level 2. These are the laboratories required to handle any biological material. These nosodes cannot be prepared just like that in the clinic. Let's understand that. It is not that you take the patient's sputum or patient's mucus or patient's saliva who is infected with COVID, put it in alcohol, give some strokes, and prepare the medicine. That is not the way nosode could be made in today's time. Maybe 150 years back, the microbiology was not evolved, so that the method was different. But now we need to really do a lot of scientific work in order to develop the nosode. So these all processes and methods were followed in the development of this COVID-19 nosode. Next, please. So as I said, BSL-2 plus facility was utilized. It requires permissions. There is what is called as BSL-3 practice protocols. So this laboratory has BSL-2 plus facility, but it practices BSL-3 modalities. It is biosafety level 3 modalities. And the nosode was prepared as per HPI guidelines or HPI standards, that is Homeopathy Pharmacopoeia of India guidelines. And it was developed, as I said, at Haskins Institute. And this was the scientifically developed nosode. There is a research paper on that. And those who are interested in going into the detail can just Google it up. There's a full article published in a peer-reviewed journal where you can read every detail of this nosode. Next, please. Now, after having developed the nosode, what next? We cannot start using the nosode just like that. That time is gone. When you prepare any medicine from the biological material, that also from a very dangerous and risky organisms like coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 virus. The utmost important aspect is the safety of this nosode. When we use this nosode, we homeopaths possibly believe that every nosode, when used in potency beyond say 10 or 12, is safe. However, that is our belief. The regulatory authorities, the government, the other scientists obviously will not accept the idea that every nosode or every homeopathic medicine prepared from metals or toxins or venoms are safe for human use. They require to undergo certain safety studies. So we did animal toxicity study on 2 species by following what is called as OECD guidelines. This was possibly the first of its kind nosode ever studied with OECD guidelines in the world, with the practice of GLP guidelines and animal ethics committee approval. With that, we studied the nosode with acute and subacute toxicity in animals on these 2 species, and we found that this nosode was safe in animals. That was one of the first steps. Besides that, the product was also safe because the product was tested for RT-PCR to see whether it has any viral material in the 30C potency, which is finally going to be used. And we found that after 5C potency of the nosode, there was no viral material. Or it did not have, of course, microbial growth. So that proved that the nosode is safe for use. Next, please. But that again is not enough. We had to see that this nosode has safety in human model. So we conducted what is called as a phase 1 study, where healthy volunteers were administered the nosode in certain doses as per the ICP, GCP guidelines after due ethical approvals and CTRI registry as per the ICARI regulations. Following all the guidelines prescribed by the Government of India and by the Ministry of Ayush, we conducted the phase 1 study in humans and found very interesting thing. Not only that, we found that the COVID-19 nosode was safe for human use, but we also found that there were very interesting biomarkers which were observed to be elevated in the human study. Next, please. So, of course, and about the, I think before I talk about the biomarkers, there was one more thing which was done simultaneously, that was drug proving on 10 healthy volunteers using the ethical approval process, CTRI, and so on, because drug proving of a medicine is required as per Drug and Cosmetic Act. And so that was also studied, and we found that nobody got infected after taking the nosode. Next, please. Yeah. So after that, we wanted to now examine this nosode on humans. So we conducted a medium-sized, reasonably large-sized human trial, which can be called as phase 2 trial with this nosode in a quarantine facility which was run by the local Bombay Municipal Corporation. So the BMC had several quarantine facilities in Mumbai, which was housing the people who were exposed to COVID patients in their family or in the surrounding. So these people were around 2,233 people who participated in the study. It was a randomized placebo-controlled trial on high-risk COVID-19 exposed people as per the standard ethical guidelines and CTRI registry. It was a multi-arm study. This was possibly the only study where we compared the efficacy of the nosode against arsenic, bryonia, placebo, camphor, and a combination of arsenic, bryonia, gelsemium, and influenzimab. So this was a multi-arm comparative study where we could see, next please, we could see very interesting outcome in this study. We found that the COVID nosode had shown 62% more prevention than placebo. So this was a very encouraging result for us on a human trial. So it could really prevent the infection up to 62% versus placebo. Not only that, but those people who got infected had much milder and shorter course of the disease, because this is what is expected from any prophylactic tool or measure, right? Even with the vaccine, what we are looking for is the first of all, the disease should be prevented, or even if one gets infected, even after the vaccine, the disease should run a milder course. The disease should not be complicated. The disease should not require to go into, should not go for ventilation and hospitalization. So this is what is expected from any prophylactic measure. That is exactly what we achieved. And this was also, I must say that this was world's first COVID-19 nosode randomized placebo-controlled study. So with that, and then we had one more interesting finding. Next, please. In some of the volunteers, okay, yeah, this shows the graph of the efficacy of COVID nosode versus bryonia, arsenic, camphor, and the combination medicine and placebo. We found that nosode and bryonia and arsenic, they produced very good results. Of course, however, camphor did not produce any good result at all. The efficacy with camphor in the prevention was as good as placebo. And of course, the combination medicine also did not produce very good results, but it was much better than camphor. And the best results were achieved from nosode and bryonia. So bryonia also did extremely good comparative study. Next, please. As a researcher and who is working on the scientific aspects of the nosode research, my focus was always on understanding the mechanism of action of the homeopathic medicines, because that is exactly where we have been missing out for ages, because we have never understood how homeopathic medicines work. We all know in our practice every single day that our medicines prescribed for various patients, they bring superb results. However, the mechanism of action of medicines is little understood. So in this study in phase 1 trial, we observed some very interesting leads. What we found was that 90% of the volunteers in the phase 1 trial, they had an increase in IL-6 cytokine. And that is an immunomarker. With that, out of that, 70% of the volunteers who had an increase, they also had increase in CD4 count. Now, the CD4 cells, as you know, are the fighter cells, they are lymphocytes. And this put together is a sign of activation of T cell activation. So what we could observe was that there was a definite immune response in the volunteers who consumed the nosode. And this was suggestive of T cell activation. Now, this is exactly what is required when we talk to the scientists and to the scientific world. We need to explain to them or show them how homeopathic medicines work. So the COVID nosode in our preliminary findings, these are all preliminary findings, okay? And there we have been able to show not only its safety, but its efficacy as well as its mode of action. So this was a good understanding for us that the COVID nosode could produce an effect suggestive of T cell activation. So with this, we realized that this medicine could be of benefit to the humankind. Next, please. So then we also used the nosode in an experimental manner. We are not sharing this nosode with the outside world. We are not, of course, selling the nosodes. I am not a manufacturer. I am not a pharma. So we don't sell the nosode, but we give it. We have used this on experimentally on some of the patients because the cases have been extremely high in the city of Mumbai, as you all know. And we could find that in number of patients, number of families, number of people who were given the nosode and those who were also exposed to the infection, the nosode could prevent the infection in many people, if not in all. Of course, I am nowhere claiming that this nosode has the capacity to make 100% prevention. That is not what is expected, but it could definitely prevent the infection in number of high-risk individuals. To give you an example, we had patients in the family, maybe 6 or 8 people infected in the family, and 1 or 2 persons who had taken the nosode, who stayed in the same family for the entire duration, they did not get the infection. Likewise, we have got number of examples. We also have examples that some people who even got the infection, in spite of taking the nosode, they ran a symptomatic phase. They did not develop any symptoms. we observed some of the people who had consumed the Nosode, they had very mild symptoms with very little, no, I mean mild to moderate, without having any severe symptoms. And most of these people, they recovered much faster. Some of the people turned negative in 7 to 9 days, or even shorter time than that. So this was enough initial lead for us to consider this medicine to be used by the profession. So with all this data, we have a huge data based on this research, which is almost a 600-page document. And next, please. So with this understanding, let us understand what could be the scope of the Nosode in practice. So as we all know, the most important the scope as on today of this Nosode is the prophylactic use. This Nosode has a potential of preventing the infection. As on today, in fact, when we started, there was no vaccine, and that time we were almost helpless. Of course, arsenic alb was one of the medicines, and bryonia, which was preventing the disease in many people, but we did not have scientific studies. So this was one medicine which was developed when there was no even vaccine. And even after vaccine, as we all know, is very effective, but it is not 100%. The success rate in vaccine has certain limitations. And we also know that even after developing the vaccine, even after taking the vaccines, many people are getting infection, and even deaths are also happening. So besides the prophylactic role, this medicine has a potential therapeutic role. We have also used experimentally on some of the people known to us therapeutically. So those people who got infected and had chance to take the Nosode on day 1 or 2 in the very early stage, they ran very mild course. Some of them had asymptomatic picture all throughout the course of the disease. So another possibility with the benefit of this Nosode could be the use in post-COVID-19 symptomatology. As you know, nowadays we have cases of long COVID. Some patients come to us with after effects of COVID, which include various muscle pain or myalgia, weakness, loss of appetite, even pulmonary fibrosis. So of course, we need to make some further studies specifically to see post-COVID complications and the Nosode. It's a separate study by itself that we need to do. But I have a feeling that in controlling and improving some of the complications, such as pulmonary fibrosis, I think this Nosode may have some potential, and it may have some other uses other than the COVID infection itself. Based on the symptomatology, based on the drug-proving symptoms, possibly you can use this Nosode in maybe some kind of arthritic pathologies, maybe in rheumatoid arthritis, and so on. So this is in brief about the scope of the Nosode. Yeah, next please. So now a $1 million question. Everybody's asking me wherever I go, or otherwise in the social media, by phone, by emails, on chats, on Facebook, etc., that when will the COVID Nosode be made available? And I am not still in position to share the Nosode with anybody, and that's a very sad feeling for me also, because I sometimes I give a kind of analogy. I said that I feel like a mother who has cooked the food, good food which is made available in the kitchen, and the mother has many kids who are hungry and in need of food, but the mother is not able to serve the food to her kids. So imagine that kind of situation. That is the kind of mind, that's the kind of feeling that I have at this point, because the Nosode is ready to use with potential. I'm not claiming the cure with that, but there is a huge potential, and there's a need for this Nosode in the world, and more so in India. But still, we are not able to formally, officially, and legally distribute the Nosode and use the Nosode to prevent the disease and also to treat the disease. And why is it so? Next, please. Because that is what I want you all to know, that in order that the Nosode is made available to the world, there are some regulations in place. See, Nosode, COVID Nosode is a new homeopathic drug. Okay, and for new homeopathic drug, you cannot simply make and prepare and sell it or give it. You require to have government approval. So there's a regulatory body India is one of the countries in which new drugs are well controlled, which is very good, of course. They are controlled by the government for the quality reasons and for the safety reasons. And without the regulation, one cannot manufacture the drug. But the problem in India is, all the homeopaths, please listen to me carefully. The problem in India, or as on today, is that we do not have clear-cut regulations for approving the new homeopathic drugs or nosors. I repeat, we do not have rules in place to approve new homeopathic nosors or new homeopathic drugs. This is a problem because as a result, new drug discovery is not happening in India. And without these rules and regulations for new drugs in place, we cannot bring the nosors to the world. Now, the good thing is that as per the Ayush Ministry notifications dated as shown on the screen, 21st April and 28th July, if any COVID research is done as per the notifications, then there is a provision. There is a provision that the Ministry of Ayush could make an approval process for this drug. There is a provision. So with this understanding, next please. We have submitted our entire document of research on this COVID nosode to the Government of India as well as to the Ministry of Ayush and to the Prime Minister's office. We have made an appeal to the government almost 3 months ago. So my entire document, which is 3.5 kilograms in weight and 600 pages, this is lying on the tables of the ministry. And the good thing is that the ministry is definitely reviewing it. There are a couple of rounds of review which have happened, but the process is going very, very slow. We do not have that kind of luxury of time that, such approvals are done leisurely. So our need and our appeal and our request to the ministry and to the Government of India is to get an emergency approval for the nosode based on the studies that we have done. Of course, research is an ongoing thing. We will continue doing further research. I must also share with you that we have initiated a phase 3 trial with this COVID-19 nosode. But that will go on. You see, the vaccines also had emergency approval. Some of the studies which are required for the marketing of the vaccine were not done because we did not have that kind of time, obviously. So with those limitations, the vaccines have been put to the market. Similarly, the homeopathic nosode also must get and it deserves an emergency approval. So our request is in place with the ministry. And I would, all those people who are here, some of you with the ministry and some of the different levels with the council and institutions, I would like all the homeopaths, all the homeopathic institutions, homeopathic colleges, homeopathic pharma to put hands together and submit a request to the government saying that this nosode must be given an emergency review and approval. So that is my humble request to all of you, because we all will have to join hands together. This emergency approval nosode of the nosode is not one person's job. With God's grace, we could somehow develop the nosode in spite of all the difficulties and hurdles during the lockdown period in the city of Mumbai. We could do that successfully. We could develop the COVID nosode, first of its kind in the entire world in India. However, now for the government approval and other formalities, we require the support from the profession. And I'm sure all of you will get sensitized about it. Yeah, next please. So let us talk a little bit about what could possibly happen if COVID nosode is approved. And if we, I think some people can mute their mobile. Yeah, thank you. So what can happen if the nosode is approved and it is used for the masses? I have my thoughts very clear in my mind that the efficacy was what the nosode has shown so far. If we can get the similar or higher efficacy with the nosode by mass usage in the country, then that can be a great game changer for the entire science of homeopathy. Because whatever difficulties we are facing as a science, as a profession, about the limitations of homeopathy, about the inefficacy of homeopathy, about the lack of science behind homeopathy, and so on, that all can be addressed very well, and there can be immediate surge in the acceptance of the system of homeopathy. Not only that, and more important than that for me is that once the nosor shows more scientific efficacy in various studies, because further research is already on in our by our teams. Once we have more and more research, and once we are able to demonstrate, for example, further molecular pathways, how the nosor is working, and then if that thing works, then suddenly the entire scientists in the world, the entire fraternity of the scientists will suddenly start looking at homeopathy as a possibility to conduct more scientific studies. So we can have a pool of many scientists from mainstream who can suddenly take up the research in homeopathy. And that is exactly what is my dream. At the end of the day, what I want personally is that there should be at least 5,000 scientists from the mainstream. They should work on not only the nosor, but on homeopathy, on the drug discovery in homeopathy, about understanding the molecular pathways of their efficacy, and a lot more. Suddenly, there is a huge possibility that the science and the practice of homeopathy can make a huge change. There can be a big facelift. These are the ideas that I have in my mind. That's why I call it possibly homeopathy. COVID-19 nosor can become instrumental in changing the game. Next, please. So, just to give you certain highlights of this nosor, just to recap, of course, this nosor has been prepared scientifically. It has got proven immunity building capacity observed in the human trials. The nosor is safe. Safety is very important for any new drug, especially vaccine-like preparation like nosor. Now, in my several posts and articles, I have used the word. See, I was personally hesitant in calling nosor a vaccine, because nosor is not a vaccine, obviously. And I was not even very comfortable comparing nosor and vaccine, because I thought they are two different things, as most of you also will believe the same. But then, after understanding a little bit more about the vaccine and the immunology, I understood that what is a vaccine? Vaccine is nothing but a medicinal substance capable of inducing immune response to prevent the disease. That is a vaccine. Okay? Vaccine has nothing to do with whether it is injectable or not injectable. Vaccine has nothing to do whether it is inactivated by weakening the virus through some attenuation process used in vaccination, or whether it is potentized. That is not the definition of a vaccine. The vaccine definition is that any medicinal substance which has an inherent capacity to provoke or to induce or to trigger immune response, so that particular disease is particular disease is prevented. Now, with that understanding of vaccine, with the nosor or any homeopathic medicine, but that is the nosor. The nosor can do a similar job of preventing a prophylactic capacity by stimulating the immune response, then possibly a homeopathic nosor could be considered a vaccine. So please understand my perspective. Some people do not like the idea if I compare the two, but anyway, once you think little more, I'm saying there are comparable, or they can be explored in the same basket. I also personally believe, which I must share here with all of you, that vaccine and nosors are two different ways of activating the immunity in the body. One method is attenuation, that is what is followed by the method of vaccination. And there's another method which is simple yet sophisticated, and that is potentization. So potentization, in my view, is one of the ways how we can possibly develop vaccine-like preparations like nosodes in future. So this is of course futuristic, but if we work in this direction for many more years with the help of many mainstream scientists, then possibly we can look forward to something very interesting for the science. This is what my personal belief is. Next is after the safety, we could see that the nosode has shown efficacy in the preclinical and clinical model. One of the important aspects of nosode which we must know is that this nosode is an oral drug. Unlike the most of the vaccines, this is an oral medicine. And this oral medicine is used at a room temperature. Earlier, we did not understand the importance of that. But then any vaccine-like preparation, if it is given orally, like oral polio, for example, polio vaccine, or if it is made available at a room temperature, then there are many less hassles, because one of the challenges with the vaccine today is that it requires certain temperature, cold storage, right? So distribution also is a big challenge. So these are the advantages of homeopathic nosode. Of course, it is a low-cost solution. The vaccines are typically very expensive when available commercially in the market, as you know. Another beauty with the nosodes, if it comes in the market or is approved, is that this can be manufactured very rapidly. There can be fast manufacturing. As on today, the vaccine is facing a big challenge of manufacturing. There is no enough manufacturing or availability of this nosode, this vaccine, right? But then there are ways how we have thought of whereby homeopathic nosode can be manufactured very fast. And even if you want to give a nosode to over 1.4 billion people in the country and in the world, then within 3 to 6 months, possibly, there is a way to manufacture and distribute this nosode to possibly the entire country and the entire world. And not to forget that this nosode is made in India. It's a made in India product. So there are many things in favor of the nosode. Next, please. So see, all this research work which was done by the Life Force Foundation Trust, which was a charitable trust. But now, in order that we do further studies which are very resource consuming, time consuming, and it requires a lot of funding and all. So we have started what is called as a SPV, a special purpose vehicle, a small entity called Biosimilia, which has a very significant name. Biosimilia means it's a different word for nosode, a sophisticated word. Bio is bio, similia is something which is based on law of similars. So that's how we have coined this word. And we started one small group which is called Biosimilia, under which we intend to do further research activities and the other regulatory processes. So I'm sure at the end of this talk there will be questions that we'll answer. Some questions we may not be able to answer. This is my mobile number. Feel free to write down this mobile number. If you have some questions which could not be answered during this talk, I'll be free to give my thoughts. I'm a part of several WhatsApp groups where I'm happy to discuss various aspects of nosode development and the research. So you can do that. Next, please. So I think with this, a small disclaimer. Nowhere in my talk, I'm claiming that the homeopathic nosode COVID-19 is a substitute to vaccine. No, vaccines are great. Vaccines are not enough. Maybe in my personal view, I believe that what we need today in the world is the combination of nosode and a vaccine, or vaccine and nosode together, because that can possibly give us bigger protection. So nosode is not a substitute. Nosode is not to be taken instead of a vaccine. I don't see that. All the safety measures are to be taken care of, in spite of taking a nosode. It is not that you take a nosode and then you stop using the mask and stop practicing social distancing. Of course not. No claim is made for the complete prevention or complete cure after using the nosode. And of course, we need to do lot more research. This is the beginning of what we have done. We have conducted so far more of a preclinical and some clinical trials, but we need to conduct many more studies. I think it's a lifelong thing. So COVID nosode research will go on in my personal life for at least next 3 to 5 years, even if the pandemic will get over, but the nosode will always remain, isn't it? As all the nosodes, like variolinum nosode has remained even after the smallpox disappeared. rabies is very little, but the lysine nosode is still with us. Likewise, COVID nosode will have long-term implications, and the benefits also, once we have this nosode in place, that could be used even after the virus says goodbye to us. So a lot of research is required, of course, in this field. Yeah, next please. So with that, I think I would like to conclude my talk today, and I would like to thank everybody for listening to me patiently. And I think we'll take some questions through the help of a moderator. So please send your questions to the chat, I believe, and our moderator will put these questions before me, and I'll try to answer as much as I can. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh Shah. I was looking into the chat box, and there are a few questions. Number one is ITRI permission was it taken? That is question number one. And question number two is IL-6 cytokinins and CD4 count were also carried out in the case of the arsenic bryonia and the camphor. And third one is phase 2 and phase, what is the difference between the phase 2 and phase 3? And phase 3 trials, how far they are progressed? So these are the three questions our viewers are putting.
Yeah, so I'll answer them one by one. The IL-6 and CD4 count, that was a part of the phase 1 study. So that study was conducted with 10 healthy volunteers. And there we observed this elevation of the biomarkers. The biomarker which increased several folds. Like for example, IL-6 normal limit is 0 to, I guess, 0.6. But then with the dose of nosode, it increased several folds. So it increased to 12, 14, I think up to 36, 45. This is what I remember. It's there on the document. Now, when the IL-6 increased, it is a pro-inflammatory cytokine, as you all know. Means apparently it gives a feeling that, oh, it has produced some kind of inflammation in the body. But then we had on our team, we have some very eminent immunologists on the board, and we had very detailed discussions and communication with them, which I must share partly, that with the increase of IL-6, if there is an increase of CRP, C-reactive protein, then that is a sign of inflammation. But if there is no CRP which is increased, it means then this is not inflammation, but this is the immunological response. So it was the immune response. So this was favorable immune response to the nosode. This study was not done with arsenic and bryonia, because that was arsenic bryonia was a human trial. It was another trial. So we had 3 trials. One was the phase 1 on 10 individuals. Then there was a phase 2, which was on 2,233 individuals, in which the objective was only not to study the biomarkers. It was not possible to do it on 2,000 plus people, because this is extremely expensive and very, very sensitive tests. And that was only to see the prevention. Now the phase 3 trial is your third patient. That trial is begun now, and that is going to be in 2 parts. So the complete phase 3 number will be 3,000 people, and this will be a multi-location study. So we have 4 sites for this to start with. In the first phase, we will study the preventive role with the biomarkers on 200 individuals. And in the next part, we will have 2,800 people. So in fact, some of the institutions head, if they are here, then I'll be in the next phase, we are going to invite some institutions to be to be an investigating site, so that we can talk separately on another day. So this is a very interesting. In fact, this study is done when in your institution. This can create good experience for your faculty as well as for the students. Yeah.
Sir, one more question. So you have taken 2 species, and I think there are a few more varieties are there. So these 2 varieties, you made only one nosode out of them, or you made separately? And this immunity, how long it is going to be last. That means the duration of the action of this medicine.
Yeah.
So this is another question, please.
Very good. See, these questions are both relevant and very interesting. The reason is that, and the reason why I'm smiling with these questions is that in the past, we never asked questions about which strains were used in the nosode. We never asked about what will be the length of effect of these nosodes. We never asked the question that in the making of tuberculinum, which organism was used. And now we are evolving, and the question came so easily within a few minutes of talk from whosoever who asked the question. I must congratulate that. See, this is the way we have to ask questions. These are the questions that we must even ask for each and every nosode that we have, isn't it? So coming back, this nosode, we developed 3 nosodes, 3 varieties. The first was from the Wuhan the strain which we had from China. So it was prepared this was prepared in the month of May last year. That time we did not have other mutants. We did not have other varieties. So it was prepared only from one particular organism. But now, to answer your question, now we have initiated another project of developing a nosode with multiple strains. So now we have got, the Indian strain, the double mutant. We have South African, possibly, I'm not sure whether we'll get it or not, but the British strain. So we will try to prepare a new variant of a nosode using the currently available strains. And that's how it is. So every nosode is not the same. All nosodes are different because based on the ingredient that it has, the source material that it has, isn't it? Now, some people are asking me that, oh, Rajesh, you are talking about nosode, but we are already using COVID nosode. It is available in the market. Some of my friends in Europe, they say, oh, it is available in the UK. It is available in the US. It is available somewhere else. It is also available in India. So I wrote a message few days back saying every COVID nosode is not the same. Try to find out what is it prepared from, how was it prepared, what did it contain, what was the safety measure taken, what is the regulation, regulatory framework, and so on. So these are the questions that we need to ask, not only for COVID nosode, but about other medicines also, our existing drugs, about existing nosodes. Can I give one small teaser here? The teaser is that the tuberculinum nosode, which we all are using, did you know that there is no way we can make the tuberculinum today? Did you know this? There are some pharma people, I'm sure, very senior pharma faces are there in this group. But as on today, we cannot make a new tuberculinum same as what we are using in the practice. Did we all know this? Because the tuberculinum bovinum or whatever that we are using in our practice was made by Samuel Swan in 1875 from possibly a suspected case of tuberculosis. The sputum of that person was taken and it was potentized. So that source did not undergo any microbial study, obviously. If you recall my early part of the talk, this nosode was made 8 years before the Mycobacterium tuberculosis organisms were found. So that till that time when the nosode was made, nobody knew what are the organisms of that tuberculosis. So in those circumstances, the nosode was made from somebody's sputum. Okay, and that tuberculinum was prepared, and then it was re-prepared, and it was re-prepared, and then it went on and on and on by using the back potencies from some part of Europe. It went to the UK, then went to the US, boric TOEFL, it went again to Europe, then it came to India, then from India it came to Kolkata, from there it came to Mumbai, the process it came to Chennai, it came to Hyderabad. So these are the back potencies that we all have been using of what we call is tuberculinum. And it means we cannot remake that because we have no microbial knowledge or know-how about this about sources. Now, same is true with practically each and every nosode that we are using. That's the reason I say there's a time for re-looking at all the nosodes and examining them in a very systematic scientific way, for not only for the preparation, but preparation plus the safety and their efficacy in various models. That's the way. If you do that, and I must also share here, if you have 3 minutes, I think how much time? 5 o'clock. Okay. I must also share that we have developed a range of nosodes in this manner, from HIV virus, from hepatitis C virus, from Plasmodium falciparum parasites, from E. coli bacteria, from Salmonella, from Klebsiella influenzae, Klebsiella pneumonia, from Candida, from HPV, there is human papilloma virus, from cancer tissues, and so on. All this have been developed in last 15 years of time. There are published papers for all these nosodes, so you can read them on Google. And they all have been studied systematically, and also they have been studied for their respective antimicrobial efficacy. To just give you a small example, E. coli nosode in the laboratory has shown anti-E. coli properties. And likewise, Plasmodium falciparum nosode that we developed at IIT Bombay some 4 years ago has shown anti-malarial properties in the cell line model. And likewise, cancer nosode, HIV nosode, and so on. So this antimicrobial properties of the nosodes is now already proven in our studies. So likewise, we need to really work on some of the old nosodes. As you know, some of the nosodes we cannot remake even because the material is not available. We cannot make smallpox nosode, right? Variolinum cannot be made again, and so on. So that's a different subject. But then my purpose of talking to this group is just to trigger some more curiosity and more questions about the nosodes, their genesis, their sources, and the way how they should be made and developed and used in practice. Thank you. We can take a couple of questions if there are.
Thank you, sir. May I request all of viewers, please leave your email and mobile number so that we can give our information regarding the future webinars. May I request the viewers a few questions, one by one, please. Anybody is having the doubts,
To interrupt,
questions, please.
Professor, can I ask Dr. Rajesh Shahji a question, please?
Sure.
Sir, I was wondering whether this whole virion was used for the making the nosode. You said there were 3 types you have procured this thing and done it. The whole virion was used, sir, including the gene and all that, and the spike protein.
Yeah, the first variant, which was from the clinical sample, was a whole virus. So it contained, the entire viral material. While the other variant had inactivated virus. So that was also a complete virus, but it was inactivated. It was brought inactivated. And the third variant was having only the glycoprotein, the spike glycoprotein, which is having the maximum antigenicity. So that is made. So now, since you are asking, I must say that actually these 3 nosodes are actually different, so to say, or different variants. It is like saying 3 different vaccines. So their efficacy also must be examined separately. So we have some studies going on with the spike glycoprotein variant of the nosode at Gujarat University in the Department of Life Science. So that study is already going on. And CCRH, the Ministry of Ayush, also has decided to participate in that study. And they are reviewing the project for last 9 months. I hope they'll do it in a couple of months' time now. And so that is a separate study that we already have initiated. So likewise, as I said, then of course we have to finally compare the results. We have to see what works better. But then in the current time, we do not have a luxury to examine each of these 3 variants by conducting separate independent clinical trials, because everything is time incentive, right? It takes times and efforts, and funding. But then we, in my view, one prepared from the clinical sample has the whole virus. So that is supposed to be more efficacious in terms of its application.
But does that survive, sir, when we are making the nosode, before we make the dilution, of course, does that survive? Because is it like an attenuated sample virus, or something like which is found totally in the inactivated Covaxin vaccine, sir?
So yes, it is inactivated because the live virus we cannot handle. For handling the live virus and preparing the nosode from actual live virus requires BSL-3 plus facility. BSL-3, not BSL-2. So there are only 2 or 3 such BSL-3 in the country. I think Dr. Shukla is here; he will know it better. But then we cannot. We did not have permission. Even CCRH did not have permission to use BSL-3 facility because it is controlled by ICMR. And of course, we had written to ICMR for permission, but of course, we did not even hear anything from them. So that kind of situations are different, but we do not need. I think if you look at the history of our nosodes in the past in homeopathy, all the homeopathic nosodes were prepared from clinical samples.
Yeah.
And
Sir,
so,
for example, now the the nosode has been made. Now we can say we have made a nosode, sir, but there is no clinical proving as far as, or drug proving kind of a thing as far as this particular nosode is concerned. Number one. Number two, you have very nicely done the work with Bryonia, Gelsemium, and also the COVID nosode, and also arsenic al. And won't the scientific community again come back and say this is not producing any antibodies, and how to really again prove back to them that it's another homeopathic formulation, and how different it is from the problems that we are already having now?
yeah. So to answer your last question first, doctor, when you look at immunity, there are a couple of ways how immunity could be triggered. So one of the ways the immunity is triggered by vaccine is by producing the antibodies. Okay. Now with the nosode, we examined if it produced antibodies. So we had some volunteers who developed antibodies after using the nosode, but the count was low. So we need a bigger study to see whether the antibodies are produced by the nosode. However, very interestingly, what the nosode could do was triggering possibly the T cell activation. So when it produces CD4 count, which increases in a 2 to 3 weeks time to the tune of 20 to 50%. So once you have increased the CD4 count, it is T cell activation, and that gives you a broader immunity. So we also have some examples which it is not scientifically correct for me to share, but I can share just as a clinician, not as a scientist. Is that some volunteers who have taken the nosode, and they said that some people in my family, they developed cold, like flu-like symptoms, but he did not get it. Now, this is typical of what you expect when your CD4 count increases, when you already have protection of certain type, so you will not get certain basic infections. So in a way, it is good that if the nosode is able to produce this kind of broad spectrum immune cover, then it can protect you from other infections as well. That is exactly what the tuberculinum seems to be doing. We all know that when we give tuberculinum to children, they don't get frequent infections, right? That is everybody's experience. So it must be doing some kind of immune response. It must be increasing certain immune cells, so that is protecting it. So now we have to move from something vague like increasing the energy or something. We have to come to some immunomodulatory language we have to speak. So yeah, so that is what exactly the nosode is doing. Then you had a first part of the question that was about. Sorry, I missed that question.
It is made that the whole virion was moved, used, and the spike was used.
That I answered. Yeah. So we have 3 different things. Yeah.
Yes. And sir, how easy or how difficult is it to procure this virus?
Sir, you asked about the drug proving,
You asked about drug proving. Yeah. So
drug proving of the
yes, I'll answer that.
COVID-19 also.
Yes. So if you saw my one of the slides in the beginning, we did
Yeah.
conduct a drug proving. Though it was not a placebo-controlled drug proving, but we did conduct a drug proving, and that paper is already accepted. I think it should be published in about a couple of weeks' time, and it will be available on. You'll find it on Google Scholar or something. Okay. So drug proving was done. However, just to clarify, for the use of Nosode for prevention, you do not require a drug proving. Drug proving will be required if we are using the Nosode for conditions other than the COVID infection. Right? For using as prevention, you are going to give it blinded to everybody or whosoever is willing to take it. So you do not require the symptoms. Many people are getting confused about this. They say, first you do drug proving and then we'll use the Nosode. I said, for using the Nosode, you do not require a drug proving because you are not going to prescribe the Nosode for prevention based on anybody's symptoms.
And its clinical use also is considered as one of the symptom.
Yes. Yes, of course. Clinical use based on the drug proving and other criteria can be used as a indication.
Sir, this Nosode was used in 30C potency, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
Do you find any difference in the provings or prevention part if it is used in a higher potency?
Yeah. So this is a question. We would like to make a comparative study to give you a scientific answer to this. We are also considering studying it with say lower potency, say 15 potency, as well as higher potency like 200 or 1000. But as you know, every study is a separate study. So suppose if I want to see whether 200 works better or 30, then I have to do one comparative study. It requires same amount of double efforts rather.
So in our clinical experience, what we think is Nosodes act very well in very high potencies.
Yeah. So I will say here that once the Nosode is approved and made available, it will be made available in different potencies. So individually, every physician will have one's own method of prescribing. So you can choose to use your potency of your choice, what you are comfortable with. There is no one standard potency for all. So like, for example, some people might use Medorinum 30 and some might use Medorinum 10M. That is your choice. Nothing is right and wrong in that, I believe.
So is there any possibility to combine all the mutant variants strains into one COVID strain or COVID vaccine or Nosode, whatever we can tell it?
Yes.
So is there any possibility to combine all these strains into one?
Yes.
And because since 1965, there are a lot of mutations being done on mutations which have undergone by this coronavirus. So how much possibility is there for the effectiveness, even though if you want to use it as Nosode or preventive part, how much effective it will be there?
Yeah, so this is a good question. In fact, we have done the combining of the strains in our previous Nosodes. For example, our HIV Nosode has both the strains, type 1 and type 2. Our hepatitis C Nosode has type 1, 2, genotype 1, 2, 3A, and I think 4, if I'm not mistaken. Similarly, our E. coli Nosode has, I think, 3 or 4 strains of E. coli, common strains. So we have put them together. Our Mycobacterium tuberculosis Nosode has 4 strains of organisms put together. So there is a way, and once we develop another Nosode with COVID, current mutants, we also intend to combine them and conduct some studies subsequently. But please be informed that once we combine, it becomes like a new Nosode, a new drug. So it requires a fresh set of studies.
Yeah.
But at one point, we will be able to combine them and do some studies to see whether it is superior than the individual strain. Yes.
Now, again, the same question will rise, sir. As you told in the case of tuberculinum, it was developed before the invention of that tuberculous bacteria. If we do a multi-mutant combination of the COVID-19 or COVID Nosode, After few more years, there may be many mutations again which may be undergoing. It
No,
may be
no, no.
undergoing.
No, it will not be. I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
See, when tuberculinum was prepared, we did not have any genetic information about that. But today, when we developed this range of nosodes which I'm mentioning, including the COVID-19 nosode, we have a way to do the gene sequencing and having the genetic information in place. So now when we develop new mutants, strains, so we will have all the genetic information and we'll say this nosode is prepared from so-and-so genetic material. So for example, after 1 year, some other strains come, if at all, for God forbid it doesn't come, but then that will be different than this. So it is not going to be something blinded. It's going to be all distinguished microbial materials.
Sir, is it possible to procure the nosode from you for doing some clinical trials?
So, well, when you say clinical trial, you mean you want to use it on some of the people. That's what you mean by clinical trial.
Yeah, maybe, trial basically to see if, even the parameters are reducing, like the inflammatory parameters, or to see the activation of the virus not being there, or the patient getting into remission faster.
So let us understand, this is a good question. Many people have asked me this. There is no legal way whereby I can share this nosode with you unless you decide to conduct a scientific study and whereby you request me to give you this medicine and you follow certain guidelines for conducting this study. We do not have a provision in the law yet for homeopathy to develop the medicine for research purpose. That is another request that we have put up with the government to have this provision. There is a provision like this in allopathy or for allopathic drugs, but for homeopathy, we do not have such provisions. So that is the job of homeopathic institutions and homeopathic pharma and such, to raise this kind of demand for what we need. Your question is absolutely valid, doctor. I would have asked the same question at your place.
Sir, like there are so many new drugs that are regularly coming into homeopathic pharmacies, like X-ray or so ozone or whatever. But do they also go through so much of this thing, or somebody just decides to make a remedy out of it, does some drug proving, and it's on?
Well, do you want me to answer this question?
Yes.
Because we honestly like to know.
Well, X-ray is an old homeopathic medicine. Okay. But of course, it is very ambiguous origin. How it was made was that some water was exposed to X-ray machine, and that water was potentized. How much radiation was put through the water, we do not know. But let us keep aside that. That was a good attempt by whosoever who did it at that time. Okay, that was 100 years back, or I don't know, 150 years back. I have no idea. But now we are talking about so-called new drugs which are introduced in homeopathy, like, see, you said ozone, and you said, can you give 2-3 more names so that I can tell you the story?
Yeah,
I think neon is also there.
the names, but yeah.
Neon is there.
Sorry,
Neon.
what is that?
That is also a drug, sir. That is made of inert grass.
So, see, there are researchers and enthusiastic homeopaths and teachers in the world. With due respect, they've introduced a lot of new remedies, but none of those remedies have undergone scientific studies. So they are not formally introduced into homeopathic pharmacopoeia. They are all empirically developed medicine. It is not very different than you. You prepare a medicine from the prasad from a temple near your house and potentize it and say this is prasadam 30, and with lot of religious respect, I take that. But that is not the way how new drug discovery should happen in homeopathy. Unless your prasadam can be standardized. If a prasad is made from particular chemical or particular protein or particular mineral or particular alkaloid, which can be standardized and which undergoes the proper process, then that will be a valid drug. See, I could have done this. Many drugs I have developed, right? As you know, I could have brought them similar to what you are mentioning, but I do not want to do that. I want to have a regulatory process in place in this country. And that is what is my dream. And once that is done, once we have rules in place for new homeopathic drugs, then people like you and others will also be able to introduce new drugs. Then you come across certain plant, for example, or whatever, where you think, okay, it has a potential of developing a homeopathic drug. Then you can follow certain regulations, certain protocol, and you can try to develop a drug and get it through the regulatory process. And that is the way how homeopathy will grow.
That's accepted, sir. Really appreciate that. I mean, the work in that direction, honestly. But for the sake of the pandemic, is it worthwhile to sidestep that commitment for a moment and make a no-sode and try to give it to the population? Would that help, do you think?
You mean somebody makes it and gives it to the patient?
Patients as a preventive, like what you have done, with a proper guidelines as far as making the drugs are concerned. But without that commitment of really making it as a proper regulatory drug and doing it.
So you can do that as a physician. You can develop a nosode like this from the sample from your patient and give it to the patient and some more patients. You can do that possibly. I don't know what is the regulation saying about that, but that is very risky because you try to do it yourself. You'll find it is very risky proposition. You are exposed. The material has a risk of spread. So legally, you may come in trouble. And professionally also, it is not correct. What is more important than correct is to have things in place. We have already developed the nosode now. You should rather, as a conscientious practitioner, you should ask, how do we make it available to the world?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Because right from day one, like you all and many other associations in the country, our president, Dr. Sampath Rauji then, and our Dr. Gopal Krishna, we've written to ICMR. And of course, as you rightly said, we don't even know whether they have read it or had the mind to look through what we were asking.
So what I would recommend is that we have some people like Dr. Basne here. He was there for some time. I don't know, he's still there. Dr. Basne Saab. We have Dr. Sampath Rao. We have other people. We have Jayesh Sanghvi. Let all these organizations write to the ministry an email within the next 24 to 48 hours, telling them that the emergency approval proposal is there with you for last 3 months. Why don't we expedite this process? This is what we should do as a conscientious. It's like voting. Okay, in a democracy, you vote for it. Now is the time for the homeopathic fraternity to vote for it. And that's the way we demand in democracy.
This is a good suggestion, Dr. Rajesh Shah. May I ask any other member who is having some doubts, please?
I just have one question.
Yeah, proceed.
Yeah, Dr.
Proceed, madam.
Yes. I understand for nosode, we have a particular reason to look forward to for a pathological cause that we are right now addressing. So we have that question for our research purpose. But when we are looking at other homeopathic remedies where we are saying that we want to conduct research in similar fashion and have protocols in place, but there, what would be our question? Because our medicines are generally based upon characteristics match that the symptom matching that we look for. So for other medicines, how do we go about it? I mean, what would be the research question for us?
Yes. In fact, the same rule applies to every homeopathic medicine. And that is an area which I would not like to discuss here because it's a very sensitive and gray area. Many people will have to spend a lot of time to understand what I'm talking about. Because you take any medicine, for example, there are medicines in homeopathy like say Visbadan. okay, or petroleum, for instance. Now, or graphites. Or let's take a medicine as simple as calcarea carb. Now we possibly this will take me a minute or two to answer this question. Let us look at calcarea carb. Now, what do you think is calcarea carb? You believe that some of us believe, as I did believe myself earlier, that calcarea carb is a medicine prepared from calcium carbonate, right? It is not so.
Yes.
Calcarea carb is
Oyster shell.
sorry, oyster. So
Oyster
calcarea
shell.
carb, making of calcarea carb is very similar to the example of tuberculina which I gave you, because there are some 7
Exactly.
different species of oysters.
Yes.
Okay, and all these species have different chemical ingredients and minerals content and many other things inside them. Now, which one Hahnemann had made some 200 years back, we have no idea. So now, if you are making a new calcarea carb today in Andhra, so you will catch hold of some oyster from the ocean and you make it out of that, right? Now, that, do you think it will be the same calcarea carb which was made by Hahnemann? Will there be a difference between the two, or they will be the same? There will be difference.
They will be different.
But the new calcarea carb made by somebody in Andhra, for example, on which indications you are prescribing?
The old one.
Indications for that in the Materia Medica are of the previous calcarea carb, not this calcarea carb. So there is a disparity. So coming back to your question, doctor, the researcher question is very good. We will have to relook at the entire Materia Medica. In this light, it is a long process, but it is doable. It will take us maybe 10 years if we do it very systematically, but it is very much possible. We need to really, there's a lot of clutter. I'm sorry to use this word. There's a lot of clutter in the Materia Medica. We need to clean that. And yeah, and that will bring a huge change.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. I'm Dr. Padmaja. So I just want to ask, sir, so what if this nosode, when it is available in market, is it used in a preventive method, like, or it can be used during the symptoms also, or it may replace that remdesivir and we are giving in that place, like, so like a sure drug, and what will be its action to be in the market now?
Madam, I think you joined the webinar a little late.
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah, exactly.
You can run through the recording. I answered all these questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
It is not a substitute to a vaccine. It is not a substitute to remdesivir. In any case, remdesivir is hardly of any use, that most people know by now. It has preventive role as well as it has a therapeutic role, potentially. And of course, we need to make more studies that I have to add on this.
Excuse me, sir. Good evening, sir. This is Dr. Vasundhara. Which age group, who is the optimal person can be given to this vaccine, nosode? I mean to say, whether immunocompromised patients also can take this vaccine. I want to know.
So in my limited experience, we have seen it being used in children as well as people with comorbidities, as well as immunocompromised people with severe psoriasis, severe atopic dermatitis, and we have seen it to be safe, and it is found effective in our limited and small studies.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, one Dr. Ravinder from Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad, and he's asking whether is it worthwhile to ask for an interim approval.
Interim approval?
Yeah.
Interim approval, yes. Yes, gentlemen, what you said is right. So we have applied and requested for immediate approval. So there is a possibility by the government to give us an interim approval subject to certain conditions. So we are open to that. They might say that, okay, you try it out in, say, 1 lakh people or 2 lakhs people or 20,000 people and produce the data. So it is fine. I think we are open to every possibility of taking it to the next level. Because if we don't do that, please understand my agony, gentlemen. If we don't do this, and if we do not utilize the nosode being made in India during this pandemic, then it is a loss of opportunity for the entire profession. This loss of opportunity is not for me personally, it is for the entire profession. We have an unprecedented opportunity to explore homeopathy and take it to the next level. Take it from me. And we have to make it somehow.
That's why, sir, if interim permission is
Yes.
given,
Yes.
we are very damn sure that it will be successful. So
Yes.
then government itself will come down and try to approve it in a long scale.
Yes. So, gentlemen, we have asked for the same emergency come interim permission. You are right. Yeah.
Dr.
Any more questions,
Sampath,
please?
Yeah, hi, Dr. Rajesh Bhai.
Haji.
Yeah, Achha, is it necessary that any research or new drug research has to go through the CCRH to reach the MOA or ICMR? Do we need to go through a source? Is it compulsory or is it necessary that CCRH has to be put in place before we move further?
So, for any COVID related research, suppose if you want to conduct a clinical trial using arsenic alb or whatever, Kali carbonicum, for example, then your proposal has to go to the Ministry of Ayush, and the Ministry of Ayush will send it to CCRH for a technical review. So CCRH is a technical body and they review it. Now, if you are talking about a nosode, which is the new drug, so again, the process is similar. The new drug proposal has to go to the ministry. The ministry will send it to CCRH for a technical review. And after that, ministry has to take an approval from DCGI.
So now you've gone through this process, right? Because you already proved the medicine or the drug.
Yes.
So now to reach the MOA or to get the MOA to accept it, do we need to go through the CCRH once again? CCRH just to recommend your drug or the nosode, or the MOA can straight away accept it?
So MOA does not have a homeopathy expertise without CCRH. There is only homeopathy expertise. So MOA has sent it to CCRH. CCRH has done the review and submitted the review report to the ministry. Now the ministry does not have, as on today, ministry does not have full powers to approve a new drug because there is no precedence like that. It has not happened in the past. So the ministry is also slightly confused, and they will take a permission from the DCGI. DCGI is Drug Controller General of India. So we have initially written to DCGI also, but the DCGI does not have knowledge about homeopathy. So DCGI is also equally confused. So there is no clarity in the ministry as of now. I'm sorry to say that we will give the permission. Situation is like that.
It's
So
a catch-22 situation, but then
Yes.
we have to move at some level to push it through that.
So under that situation, if you see one of my slides about Ayush notifications, so as per the notification for COVID situation, there is a provision that under these circumstances, the Ministry of Ayush may have some rights to make a quick proposal and approval. So we are trying for that approval. And that is doable because we are not very far. We need some more support.
I'm sure something will move with the zest, enthusiasm, with your perseverance, and sure it will move to something. And we'll also find out more.
Yes, so I think as GHF, GHF should write to the ministry immediately, in my humble request and opinion, that this must be taken up to the next level, because without we do not have a lobby. Let us understand, in the conventional medicine, allopathy, there is a strong lobby for everything. That's why they get their work done. Here, there is no lobby. So we need
Sir,
to,
a small suggestion, sir. There are approximately 2.5 lakhs homeopaths in all over India. I just request you to prepare a format so that it can be distributed in all the groups of homeopathy. Every homeopath has some 10 or 15 groups in his phone. You just make a format and what to be written and how to be and to whom to be forwarded, so that at least few people will respond to that. not few, we can make many people respond to that, because a simple effort will go a long way in our success.
Yeah.
So I request you to do that, sir, because just a simple format, what to be written and to whom to be written.
Yeah.
Under their signature, like emails or letters or anything, whichever is possible.
Right.
So
Yes.
you just think over this, sir.
Yeah, that is a good suggestion. Of course, we are meanwhile talking to various institutions. As I said, institutions, if they write, that will also have better impact. But individuals can also write. So I think with
Any
that,
questions, please?
so it
Dr.
seems,
Rajesh, please.
yeah, with that, I think we come to a conclusion and we come to an end, and we'll keep in touch, on the development. And thank you very much once again, all the organizers. I'll not give everybody's name, but all the organizers who invited me for this talk at Homeopathy Medical Association of Telangana, and all the participants who have shown interest. I'm happy to see that certain questions were asked, which we never asked in the past. And we must keep asking more and more questions about each and every homeopathic drug. That's the way to grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh Shah, for your elaborating this in presentation. And you elaborated what is BSL-2, 3, and homeopathic pharmacopoeia of India, then animal toxicity study, then what is phase 1, what is phase 2 study, and how what is the immunological effect of this medicine in producing the interleukins and CD4 count in increasing, and the comparative study with arsenicol, bryonia, camphor, and the COVID-19 vaccine. So, and let us wish and let us hope this will take to the next level. So let us put our effort also. So to take homeopathy to the next level by introducing this vaccine medicine. So thank you, Dr. Dr. Rajesh Shah. Dr. Venugopal Gauri, please carry on the next phase of action.
I request our president to Dr. Gopal Krishna sir to say a few words.
Yeah, am I audible?
Very much, sir.
Yeah, I congratulate Dr. Shah for his excellent talk and many details he has given. And we are really happy to hear all that. We are more knowledgeable with his, we have gained a lot of information from his knowledgeable talk. And I, from my side and on behalf of our association, would request him to carry out drug.
You are not audible, Dr. Krishna. Please unmute yourself.
As we are using tuberculinum, influenzinum, diphtherinum, hydrophobinum, many, not just for that particular illness to be prevented, for other purposes also we are using. So similarly, I request Dr. Rajesh Shah to explore and work on carrying out drug proving and make it a very efficient tool in the armamentarium of our homeopathic mater medica. I thank him once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gopal Krishna sir. I request Dr. Anand Rao Mengji to give vote of thanks.
Yeah, at the outset, I thank the speaker, today's speaker, the most eminent doctor, Dr. Rajesh Shah, a teacher, clinician, a hardcore researcher, and promoter of homeopathy. He has excellently spoken on this today's topic, COVID-19. and he has very decently explained about the scientific approach to the research and how the government has to approve it, and about drug proving and the animal trials and the human trials. So I thank him very profusely for his excellent speech. I also thank the office bearers of Homeopathic Medical Association of Telangana, the President Dr. Gopal Krishna Garu, the Secretary Dr. Durga Prasad Garu, the Treasurer Dr. Venugopal Garu, the convener of webinar series Dr. Sampath Rao Garu, and our advisor Dr. Shivashankar Garu, who have been very behind this COVID, because in the last week only we had a series of discussion regarding this COVID. So all the homeopaths around the world are behind this COVID to find some solution. And we congratulate and support Dr. Rajesh for his efforts to bring some positivity in his research work. So I also thank all the participants in this today's webinar, and who have involved in the discussions and asked many questions and regarding this COVID. So I thank one and all, and I give the mic to Dr. Venu.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Meet soon and update you about Dr. Rajesh ji's achievements in this direction, and also about the next webinars to come. Thank you, one and all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.